I've been hearing it for like the last 10 minutes and I just thought I was crazy.
No, it's gotta be across the hall somewhere.
Yeah.
It's been ringing off and on. Hey, it's 11 o'clock. We could start with our public meeting, 8:27. Do we have any public comment before we can start? Sorry about that. I know it was a nightmare.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, just for information purposes, I talked to John Moles, did you say his last name? The fertilizer thing. And he said that they're getting close to a off-take marketing agreement, the business management team approved it, legal department approved it, and now they're waiting for the board of directors to approve it, hopefully in June.
Yeah, it's last I heard too. They got the off takes. They're able to sell everything they're gonna produce. So now they're waiting to get some money. That's the last I heard. So that's kind of the same thing you're saying there.
And he kind of mentioned that he's hoping that the Senator Staines and see he dig behind it. But
he didn't say it was dead. I guess I haven't heard, like I said, I haven't heard anything in 6 months. So
yeah, so it sounds like they're making.
Well, it's the same story 6 months ago what you just said.
Well, but the board of directors are supposed to meet in June, so he thinks it's going to pass.
You did move on then, yeah. That'll get them the initial money going.
But anyhow, it's still alive.
Do you think it's even got maybe a little bit better chance since Trump is wanting to
really
do more in-house production stuff?
It comes from Russia, this fertilizer, so why not make it here instead of Russia?
Right.
It should.
Maybe
it really should.
Yeah.
After everything settles out here.
Right.
But if you can figure Trump out, you're better than I am.
Well, John kind of acts like he's more public money was available under Biden than under Trump, but like you guys say,
who knows?
We wanted to keep things in America, so we can just cross our fingers. It mean a lot.
Well, it's nice to hear it's not dead. Any other public comments? Commissioner update. That's what you got.
Not much. It's been most of the week there. In office last week. Didn't have anything special going.
Just an update on that safety project bill. I did get the paperwork from them. Going to be a couple of signs going in. So if you want to look at this, for your information, but we did sign the agreement on that. East Anaconda Street's on that Rodeo Road project, so double signage on that. A lot of phone calls last week. Road foreman McNabb got a hold of Phoenix Energy to help out on the 1009. I think they were going to haul 20 loads of scoria at their expense, plus truck it to help seal up that 1009. I was over there this weekend too. The traffic is just unbelievable over there. They're working on tuning roads up over there. Got a couple of cat blades that need a new radio in it, so I was talking with T&E, getting everything scheduled with Derek to put new radios for the communications, the GPS, to kind of any warnings or anything on that. Aside from that, same as Doug in the office, emails and phone calls.
Where's 1009 located at?
That's over by Bainville.
Right where those ponds are north. Just before coming in Bainville, those two ponds, that road north.
Oh, okay.
Phoenix Oil did a huge oil well site there, and then they just finished another one just a mile from there, all of that road.
And they pay for the scoria?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was part of their agreement to stay open when we were raining and stuff.
And Derek has finally got the head guy. Maybe you've talked to him too, Gordon.
Yep.
Said very good to work with, very understanding, and understands that their trucks running up and down on the roads when they're mucky like that, they tear them up. So they're willing to help us rebuild the roads.
The main guy out of Denver just called me here last week and said they're more than willing to help. Let them know, and Derek's been letting them know, and he's been getting some results there. So that's good. See, I guess myself, I attended the Western Interstate Region Conference for NACO, National Association of Towns, this last week in Rapid City. I met with Avell E-Care, which is a visual crisis people that, like, the cops can have a. Miles City's doing this. The cops or whoever can have a pad to give to somebody in a mental crisis. They can talk to a professional counselor over that pad, iPad, or they can even use their own cell phone and call these people. It's just a way to get immediate crisis care to somebody having issues, and I think that'd be great in Roosevelt County. We can work in our jails. Someone in the jail needs counseling, they can just go to that iPad or their phone and call a counselor right there. And then I know Doug talked to the tribes or worked with the tribes. They had a meeting on something, the 988, which is a statewide thing. This is something that would enhance that. I think we can do both. So the guy's we're trying to get it statewide in Montana and get some state money, but I don't know if that's not gonna work. I'm working with our mental health for northeastern Montana. And we'll work with the tribes. They were talking about the same system, so we'll continue on, seeing how we can get that done and finance it for. I said even Roosevelt County can finance it for a year to see how it's gonna work. I don't think it's that expensive. But I think it's something that we could do and use right away. I think it really help for somebody in immediate crisis. We had meetings on public lands, intergovernmental cooperation on energy and housing in the western regions. So this is more national stuff as opposed to state stuff, which is kind of interesting. We had a segment on energy, and they're using thermal energy in like Utah right now. Brings hot water up, turns a turbine and produces electricity, so it's green energy. They said that would be pretty feasible in southwestern Montana when there's hot springs, and that I guess they can heat that water up to 300-400 degrees, going down 3 miles, bringing the water back up. So it's just another maybe green energy that might be better than wind and solar in some areas. So that was kind of interesting. NACO was kind of always really pushing for green energy. They kind of forgot that we need the base load power with coal and natural gas. Well, I think we're getting it as we go through these meetings. That was my big push. We still need coal. We still need natural gas. We can't rely on wind energy when it's zero and producing 14% of the electricity it should. In Montana, we can't do that. Well, any of these cold climate areas, we need that base load power to produce power when we need it in the winter. So that was kind of interesting topics. Like I say, a lot of times I'm on the opposite side of most of them because most of these folks want 100% green energy. They don't know where that energy is going to come from, but they want it. So they push wind and solar. Well, that don't always work. So it was interesting. I think it was good to be part of that discussion. And then we talked about NEPA, which is the National Environmental Policy Act. So that has to do with permitting federal lands, federal highways, public facilities. At NEPA, I know in Montana, that group that got that law passed for NEPA, using NEPA as their environmental stuff really screws things up, in my opinion. It just goes too far. We need it, but we don't, just kind of like the green energy, we need it, but can't go 100% in. We gotta have a balance. So we talked about that. So it was pretty interesting topics. And then we had dinner at the Crazy Horse Memorial. I've never been there before. At the facility of Crazy Horse, I've never been by it, but they got quite a facility there. It's a museum, a lot of Indian artifacts. It was very interesting, very well done. I'd recommend anybody stopping in there and checking that out. But that's where our main meal was. There's a lot of these people that have never had an Indian taco and never been around the Indian cultures. Some of these folks from California and Texas and Utah. It was. I think everybody enjoyed that. It was a good experience. That was National Association of Counties meetings. Any questions or comments? Good to be involved in it. Okay, anything else? Yep.
2 questions. That company that's hauling the Scorio, how far up off of US 2 is that where they built these sites?
Was it for up 1009?
Or, say again, what was the question? Where are they getting the squirrel from?
No, the ones that they're hauling that scoria up there, how far off of US
Oh, just right
two
there.
north
Right
are they
there.
going?
It's right there, north about a mile and a half, 2 miles.
Oh, it's not 5-10 miles.
No, and then it hits the T, then it goes north, and then there's another well there. So it's about 2 miles up where we had the Hanson pit. I don't know, I've been up the Hanson pit, where Neil Knudsen lives, where Dog Trucking had their facility. They put a bunch of waste at the time.
yeah.
Just past that subdevelopment that's there. There's a Harmon's development there with
Right,
housing.
yeah.
Just north of that.
And the crisis situation, like if you're talking about the jail, would you provide those folks with a confidential area for them to talk rather than,
I
out
don't know how you do that, but I think you would, just like they do their conversations, their phones. I don't know how private that is.
Yeah,
I don't know
I mean-
how that works. I've never, don't know.
I would think that you should.
Yeah, I don't know how
I
they.
think they got visiting.
I mean, there's like where you visit your lawyers. I know that's private.
Yeah.
You know, there's spots where they can
I mean,
do it.
I'm
I-
happy
you
to
know-
say that I don't know that
Yeah, I don't-
situation.
I don't know how they'd work it for sure.
But it may be in the patrol car itself, right?
Well, that's, yeah, if you're in the thing, you'd be in the patrol car or
Yeah.
like say they can give it to this person, they can use their old phone in their car or house. Once if they're having a crisis right there, they go back to their car and talk to the counselor. Miles City's been using it. I think they've had like 16 crises and they took care of all but one on the phones. They had to take one into the hospital.
I know Sydney was talking about a year ago.
I think Sydney's on the list to get it next. They didn't want to do Roosevelt County because of the tribes. They didn't know how that would all work. So we can deal with that. So we're working on that.
That's good.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, motion to accept the minutes from the regular public meeting at 5:20. What is that?
Make the motion.
1 second. Comments or questions on them? On favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Motion passes. Motion to accept claims for $405,945.92.
Make the motion.
Second. For sure what the big one was, it must have been something fairly big.
Bainville Concrete.
Yeah.
Fire department, Bainville was.
Oh, yeah, that's 137,000, but that came out of the Bainville Fire District money.
Passed through Fox Ford, for the sheriff's
It
office.
was a $65 an hour vehicle. That, the Bainville one was the big one. Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Motion to hire Charlie Page to the road department.
Make the motion, temporary, full time.
Discussion comment. This will be out of the Wolf Point area.
Wolf Point job, July 1st start date for the road foreman.
And that's just for the summer, right?
It'll be for the summer, mowing, putting signs up. He doesn't have a CDL yet, so Derek's hoping to visit with them and see if that's anything that he'd be interested in to get a CDL so he can be.
By fall, we might convert him to full time, but that'll be.
I didn't know if he was coming back to college.
That we don't know for sure.
He's not.
He's not, okay.
So it might turn out to full time, but we'll see.
Derek had told me that back in the day, he was hired this same way, so was a handful of other guys that ended up moving into the full-time permanent position, so.
Effective July 1st.
July 1st.
June.
July. Derek and they're so far behind. And they're shorthanded. He just doesn't have the time right now to train him in, get him started. If something opens up, he might be able to change that, but hopefully it works for Charlie. Hopefully he's still interested.
Then, we added on fair workers so they can get started here when school's done now. Motion to accept the fair summer help.
But vote Charlie. I think we missed that.
Oh, did we not vote on Charlie? I'm
No,
sorry.
you didn't vote.
All in favor of Charlie's position, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No motion passes. Sorry about that. Now we need a motion on the fair summer employment.
I'll make a motion to approve, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 6 fair employees.
Second,
I'll second.
okay, this is fair workers for the Culbertson, or the Roseville County Fair in Culbertson, Kendall Pullman, Abby Assault or Aubrey Solvivold, Christy Wilbanks, Harper Strunda, I don't even know who that is for sure, Arlie Purvis, and Charlie Flynn is basically the adult, and Charlie Flynn is a board member, but he's been approved to work at the fair. It would be nice to have some adult out there. These are some young kids that are out there. Questions or comments on the list?
Those are, temporary as well.
Yeah, they're temporary summer out. So they have to reapply every year. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Any other additional items? Seeing none, motion closed.
Make a motion.
Second, any opposed?